Hello, Taz here. Welcome to my bookish corner of the internet. Today we are about to go back in time this past week as I read an arc for Counting Down With You by Bhuiyan. I am so lucky and incredibly grateful to be part of the Counting Down With You tour, which is how I was able to get an arc. Turn the Pages tour is a book and blog company dedicated to connecting readers and authors through their books. The tour for Counting Down With You starts April 28th and goes through May 5th. Counting Down With You comes out on May 4th, so definitely mark your calendars for that swath of time. I will also be linking the description for Turn the Pages tour in the description bar below. Make sure you check it out and make sure you check out all of the other amazing creators that are stops on this tour as well. So Counting Down With You is an Own Voices YA contemporary about Karina Ahmed, who is a 16-year-old Bangladeshi American girl living in New York City, and she is the quintessential model Bengali daughter. When her parents tell her to sit, she sits. When her parents tell her to jump, she jumps. But like with all other brown girls, she is told that she should pursue medicine as a career. So as she's gearing up to apply to colleges, that's what her parents tell her to do, and she's not on board with that. And then she starts tutoring the school's bad boy, Ace Clyde, who really makes her start questioning whether her happiness is worth her parents' disappointment. Her parents are also very, very conveniently spending the month in Bangladesh. This is a book about puppy love and fake dating and finding your own agency, all while navigating the very murky waters of what it means to be a first-generation Bangladeshi American. I also really did wanted to pop on here in the intro and say that since this is a reading vlog of me reading the whole book, there will be tentative spoilers, so I will definitely make sure to include a description somewhere on screen. You'll definitely know when to mute me or skip forward until it's safe to tune back in. So without further ado, let's turn back the clock and watch my reactions as I read one of my most anticipated books of 2021. Okay, hi, happy Monday. I'm very apologetic for how I look right now. I look busted as fuck, but it's Monday and it do be like that sometimes, so we're gonna roll with it. We're gonna pretend like it's not a thing. So I just checked my email and I am part of the Turn the Pages tour for Counting Down With You by Bhuiyan. I'm so freaking excited. So I got the email last week that I'm going to be part of the tour, but I just got the email for the arc and I'm downloading it right now and I'm so stinking excited. I just had to share. Counting Down With You is like one of my most anticipated books of 2021. It is about a Bangladeshi American girl and fake dating. So, a little bit of context. I am Bangladeshi American myself, and while I am a bit older than Karina is in Counting Down With You, I just know within the depths of my soul that Counting Down With You is a book that my high school self needed. Diversity in publishing has always been not great, but there's been efforts by the publishing industry to prioritize diverse voices and own voices stories, and that's great, but it was looking pretty rough in like the late 2000s, early 2010s, just not, it wasn't there. I can't actually go back and point to a book that I read that was one of my favorites growing up. Not even just one of my favorites, just a book that I read when I was growing up that had a Bangladeshi American main character. So I am ridiculously excited for this because this is the kind of representation that 14, 15, 16-year-old Taz really needed. So I am super stoked to have gotten an arc and to be part of the Turn the Pages tour. I will link them in the description. I'm just so thankful because I feel it. This book is gonna be a book that's gonna make me feel everything. Hi. So it's Thursday night and I just started Counting Down With You. I got the arc on Monday and I'm ashamed to say that it took me this long to start it, but I had a good reason. I'm just so excited for this book that I wanted to start it pretty much immediately, but I also wanted to be in the right headspace to start it. And I was not in the right headspace this week. It's been a really stressful week with work, and I kind of just needed to give myself some space and some time, and that was fine. But I finished up the bulk of my work yesterday and this morning, so I finally, after I went offline from work today, I finally was able to start counting down with you. I drew myself like a little bubble bath, and I just read for a little bit in the tub. I got to chapter 9, so I'm getting a good feel for Karina, and you know, Ace has just been introduced, so I'm pretty stoked about that. But there's just a couple thoughts that I've had up till this point. So we're at T-minus 25 days. Karina's parents left for Bangladesh at 28 days. So she's kind of like a couple days into this whole no parents thing. And first of all, I think this book is great. I can already like relate to so much of what Karina's going through as a 16-year-old. I can relate to what I went through as a 16-year-old, earlier than that, even through college. Just the Bangladeshi American experience in this is just so well done. I actually feel so seen, and Tashie had a really sweet kind of author's note at the very beginning about feeling seen and wanting people to feel seen, and I think she's really accomplished that with obviously not everyone's experience. Even if you're Bangladeshi American, this isn't every Bangladeshi American girl's experience, but it kind of captures mine, at least what I'm reading so far, from everything between wanting to have your parents' approval, even though it directly goes against what your dreams and goals are. Also, even really subtle things of parents really spoiling the younger brother or like the boys in their lives, and being super hard on the girls for basically no reason. Just so much of that, you know, immigrant experience is my immigrant experience, or my immigrant parents' experience, me being first generation Bangladeshi. So it's a lot, and seeing Bengali food in literature is a feeling that like I can't really explain, because I've been reading a lot of South Asian literature for a while now, and you'll get your typical food descriptions of like biryani or butter chicken or whatever, just, you know, things that you would have at like a desi restaurant. And while those I did relate with to an extent, there was nothing like seeing vegetable pulao or khichuri in the pages of a book. I literally am making khichuri today for dinner because Tashie wrote it and she made me crave my mom's khichuri. I'm just really pleased to have this representation. It's touching me in ways that like I objectively knew it would, but reading it is almost something different. There's a lot that I'm also not talking about right now because I don't want to get like too spoilery. I think I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to continue reading for a little bit, and then I'm going to get started on making my dinner. Hello. So we have transitioned to the kitchen, and it is 7:50 and my Instacart order just came in. I could have just walked to the store to pick up some groceries because I have like nothing in my fridge right now, and I really want khichuri. So I just ordered some stuff because it is pouring out, and I wasn't going to go gallivanting in the rain when I don't have a proper raincoat right now. So Instacart it was. So I'm just going to quickly take my groceries out of the bag and start prepping for my dinner, and I'm really excited. I've already got some eggs going on the stove, just hard boiled, and we're going to do khichuri and egg curry. So I think I have all the ingredients for the khichuri. We've got basmati rice, we've got dal, we've got frozen vegetables, we've got an onion, We've got some gacha moriche, which is literally just kind of like those bird's eye chilies. They're just like a type of chili pepper. We've got tomato for the egg curry, and I've got cilantro. So what am I missing? I need potatoes, and I need potatoes and garlic. Potatoes, garlic. Yes, I get the pre-peeled garlic because you know what? Sometimes a working girl needs shortcuts, and this is really convenient. So I figured while I make my dinner, we could just talk about counting down with you, because I think I'm at like T-minus 23 days now, and I am getting invested. Like this is, we got the fake dating starting. It's good. Onion. If I start crying, that's just how it be. I always cry when I cut onions, and my mom has this superpower of this onion's gone bad. Oh no. I can cut around it. There's just a little bit of like black spot right there. But no, what was I saying? Right. My mom has the superpower, and I think it's like all moms have the superpower where they can cut onions and not be affected. I'll be home for like Thanksgiving or some shit, and my mom will be like, cut me some onions, because basically ever since I was in elementary, middle school, I've been my mom's like sous chef in the kitchen. So anytime she'd be making like dinner, or when we would host parties for the community, which I'm so glad Tashie talked about, like Bengali community parties, in counting down with you. But yeah, whenever she would host parties or just be cooking in general, I would be the sous chef, and basically what that meant was I'd have to cut onions. And I don't like cutting onions. Like, I'll do it. I have to. I'm not about to eat any of my food without onions. That's ungodly. But it's just, I've always cried, and I can't not cry when I'm cutting onions. Like, they're stinging right now, and I don't like that. It is a necessary evil. Here we go. I've tried like a couple different hacks for cutting onions that I've seen like on TikTok and stuff. And one of them was like, what was it? It was like light a candle when you're cutting onions, and like that scent will distract you from the onions. That is false. I have tried that, and that has never worked for me. I've tried it about 3 or 4 times now. And I've also tried this other trick where I saw like someone testing it on TikTok, and they were like, if you just use like a wet paper towel. Oh God. If you just use like a wet paper towel, that'll solve your watery eyes when you're cutting onions. And to that, I will say it works sometimes, but like less than 50% of the time. So it's not really a tried and true safe methodology. This is where we're at. We're at a crying Taz because onion cutting sucks. As many cloves of garlic as my little hand can hold, because garlic. What was I gonna talk about? Right, counting down with you. The whole reason I'm even making this dinner. So, like I said, we're at T-minus 23 days. So we're 23 days away from Karina's parents coming back from Bangladesh, and shit is hitting the fan. Like, I'm sure there's gonna be more shit that hits the fan later, but we are at the point where Ace kind of just announced to his parents, and then subsequently the rest of the school that him and Karina are dating. And basically it's just because he doesn't want anyone, but especially his family, his brother and his dad, to know that he is being tutored, because homegirl is tutoring him at the bequest of her favorite English teacher. So that's where we're at. We're just gonna start sauteing the onions and garlic. So while the oil is heating up, I'm just going to grab the different spices that we use, and I will walk you guys all through it. Every family has a different recipe for khichuri. change up like the amount of spices they use or what spices they use. Everyone does it just a bit differently. My mom has always done it with holud or turmeric, ground chili powder, or what do we call it? Like gura morich. I think it's gura morich. And then we'll do like bay leaf and coriander and cumin. That's pretty much all that we really do in our khichuri. Like, khichuri is meant to be like a really comforting food. We made it a lot on like rainy days. It's just like a rice and lentil porridge, and it's just so comforting and delicious. It's truly a comfort food. So, really looking forward to this dinner. But what was I saying? So I was saying that Ace tells his family that him and homegirl are dating, and she's having like a full-blown anxiety attack. And like rightly so. She's mapping out every single thing that would go wrong in this scenario, and like what would happen if her friends find or her parents find out and all of this stuff. And I'm just like, yes to every single one of this. Like, one thing that's so underrated about the first generation American experience is like having to answer for everything. Whether it's like there was an instance where she was having a panic attack because she realized that it was like past her curfew at 5:30 p.m. because her curfew is 5:15 p.m. And that might sound ridiculous to y'all, but my curfew in college was Maghrib, which means sundown for non-Muslims. So, like, I get it. Like, that panic when you know you're somewhere that you're not supposed to be, or even if you're not doing anything, like, stupid or crazy, but you know your parents will disapprove, that, like, flash of panic that you get, too real. So, I added the bay leaf in, and I'm going to just bloom the spices with the rest of the foods. We don't really measure in this household unless we're baking, because baking is all about measurements, but for cooking, you just wing it. So I'm gonna add holud, bay leaf, coriander, cumin, and like whole coriander, and salt. Like, that's it. Okay, so spices are blooming. I'm going to really quickly wash the lentils and the rice, and then we will get the rest of this together and watch it simmer. So we've got our washed lentils and rice here with a little thing underneath so it doesn't drip water everywhere. I'm just gonna add it in to the pot and then add some water. Khichuri is literally so easy. Since that is just frying off, I'm going to get some water for it, cut up my potatoes. I'm just gonna leave the skins on because these are really like, these are white potatoes, so like the skins are just really thin, and I like don't mind potato skins. So I guess, like, long story short, I'm really loving counting down with you. I mean, like, that's a given, obviously. But I guess I just really didn't expect to see so much of my high school self in Karina. And, like, not even high school self, like, early college self, too. Just didn't expect to see so much of that reflected in Karina. And, like, I feel like subconsciously I did, which is why I was looking forward to this so much, just like beyond the Bangladeshi representation, but I don't know. I know this experience isn't the universal experience because South Asians are a really broad group of people, and by they I mean Americans, they really like painting us all over with the same brush and kind of just assuming all of our experiences are the same, which they're totally not. I mean, Bangladesh has millions of people in that tiny little country alone. Expecting us all to have the same experience, especially the same diaspora experience, is beyond ridiculous. So in my head, I like objectively knew that, and I knew that this book wouldn't be like reflective of everything, but I figured it'd be like a cute little story that I could relate back to, but I just didn't expect the whole mental health, anxiety, desperately yearning, like, I don't know. I don't have words for it quite yet. I'm only 31% through, so I've got quite a bit more of the book to read before I have to make any, I have to figure out any of like the words that I want to use. Okay, so the khichuri is boiling, so I'm going to cut up the tomatoes and start on the egg curry because I'm gonna need to peel the eggs. I hate peeling hard-boiled eggs with such a fiery passion. I can never get them to look pretty. They're all like just dimpled and gross looking, and it's not fair. I wish I had my mother's skills. Okay, so khichuri, I just checked, is coming on really nicely. The liquid has started evaporating away. The rice looks like it's been cooked. Same with the dal, and I just broke off a little chunk of the egg. Can you guys even see? Yeah. It's so frustrating. Like, not to toot my own horn, but I'm not bad in the kitchen. But then I do some things and it's like, what the actual fuck? I'm gonna add my frozen vegetables into the khichuri now, and also the potatoes. I think I cut too many potatoes. I should have probably lessened it by like half. So I'm probably only just gonna add the half. Also, I'm really sorry if I'm getting a little bit too close to the camera because cooking is not exactly a solitary, like, stay in one place type of thing. So I'm a bit all over the place right now. I apologize. I am a little bit mad about how hungry this book is also making me, because it's not just like the dimer korma, which is like an egg korma, or the Mughlai paratha, which is, God, how do you describe Mughlai paratha? It's this like stuffed paratha, basically. It's stuffed with like ground meat and cilantro and onion and garlic and eggs sometime, like scrambled eggs. It's just so good. It's one of my favorite things to eat in the world. I have very fond memories of going over to Bengali grocery stores, and like my parents, I would always hate it. Ever since I was little, I hated going to the Bengali grocery store. But the way my parents would go around my hatred of it literally was, one, I got to bring a book because obviously. Two, I would sit on like literally the bags, like the piled bags of rice, sit on there and just read while slurping my mandatory, they had to get this for me every single time, mango juice. And then on our drive back home, we would have like chicken patties or like Mughlai paratha, and those were like the highlight of the entire trip. Okay, so khichuri is simmering away. I added all the veg to it, and now I'm going to finish peeling these eggs. Hopefully they won't be as ugly. If not, oh well, it's going in a curry anyway. So I'm gonna do that, and I will check back in with you when I have finished. I just finished. Stop. I just finished peeling another egg, and this one is just as busted looking as the other one, like if not more. I am confused as to why I'm unable to do this simple thing. So we've got the eggs frying up on the stove with just a little bit of mustard oil and salt just to brown it up. And I'm gonna get started on the curry portion of the egg curry. So I've got my onions and garlic already. I'm just going to chop up some tomatoes just really, really roughly. Okay, eggs are appropriately brown. So I'm just going to get the onions sauteing. So, counting down with you, where were we? I think I was talking about how they started fake dating. And Ace is just a golden retriever boy. Like that is all he is. He's got like this reputation in their school of being a bad boy, and like there's like this perception of him like failing everything because he acts like he doesn't care in class, and he's like actually really smart, but he just doesn't care enough about other people or anything. But he's like super into astronomy, which I thought was really cool. But like I said, just a freaking golden retriever. He like latched on to Karina. I think she like intrigued him enough to latch on. He keeps saying that she has a spark, and oh my god, he literally said he wants to like set her on fire, and I was like, no, stop. It was so poetic. 2, high school boys don't talk like that. 3, boys don't talk like that just in general. So I would like to know, and this is directed to Tashie, where the fuck did this boy's inspo come from? Because like I would like to meet him. We're going to add the spices to the onions, let that bloom for a little bit, and then I'm going to add the tomatoes. I add a lot of ground red chili just because I like food really spicy. There's this ongoing joke, obviously, that like if you're brown, of course you have to like spice, and I just think that's so funny because my dad and my brother don't eat any spice at all. Like they can't handle it. Changed my shirt into like a really oversized t-shirt because it is, 1, wildly uncomfortable. One thing they never tell you about cooking is when you inhale all of the spices into your nose, it takes forever to clear out your sinuses. So I'm gonna be dealing with that for a little bit. Oh god. Oh my god. Ground red chili up your nose, don't recommend. Holy crap. I think I'm okay. I hope I'm okay. My sinuses are still burning, but I will live. Okay, so where am I at? I know I was talking about Ace. Both things are simmering. They're almost done. Cilantro. I'm gonna cut up some cilantro. Also, I've decided that there's not enough peas and carrots in it, so I'm adding peas and carrots. So we got washed cilantro with a leaf that I dropped. I keep the stems in this. The stems have all the flavor, and we like always eat the stems, so they're staying. Just give the cilantro a rough chop. They're gonna go on top of the khichuri and the egg curry, so it'll be fine. It'll cut down, so it doesn't have to be like perfect by any means. Now I'm just going to finish everything up. I'm just gonna finish off the khichuri with some cilantro and ghee. We always do like a little dab of ghee at the end for a little bit of like that buttery flavor. And then add cilantro to the egg curry, and I'll show you what it looks like assembled on a plate. So this is the finished product. That's the egg curry. I added a little bit of fried onion because I just really like the crunch the fried onion brings. And then that is achar, or just like pickled mango, which is one of my favorite things, and I'm like out. So have to pick some more up, but there's my khichuri. Good morning, happy Friday. It is finally Friday. I am coming at you from a little bit of a different setup. This is my work from home station. I have quite a lot of work to get done. I've got my coffee from my local coffee shop. It is a French toast latte. It is divine. But yeah, I just have some work to get done for the rest of the day. Just a couple things to knock off my to-do list, and then I'm going to finish counting down with you. I am at 80 something, I'm at 83%. I'm freaking out. I was texting a friend about this yesterday, and I was telling her how over the course of reading this book, I've been feeling so seen because I've just, like I kind of mentioned before, I just relate to Karina a lot. Like I saw a lot of my high school, college self in her. And it was great because it's obviously so great to be seen, but I felt sick to my stomach. It was a lot, especially Karina going through all of the emotions after she realized that, hey, like, I legit caught feels for this ridiculous boy. It hit a little close to home. I am really excited to just finish up the rest of the book and see how this all ends, because we're at the part of the book where Karina is growing a bit of a spine. And I say that, but I just mean she's, you know, starting to get her own agency, and that is such an important step for everyone in the world, but I think for brown girls it's a really, really difficult thing because you do it entirely alone, and oftentimes you're just defying multiple expectations, whether it's your families, your cultures, your religions. Just, there's so many factors that plays into a brown girl gaining her agency, and it just hit really close to home for me, at least. But yeah, I'm just going to finish up a couple of work assignments and start reading. Hi, so I'm taking a lunch break. I have my khichuri left over from last night and my Kindle, because I'm going to read while I finish my lunch. I'm at T-1 days. Shit's about to get so real. I have like a pit in my stomach as I'm waiting to find out what happens. So I will probably finish this by the end of my lunch hour, and I will catch you all then. Hi. So it's a little bit later now. I went outside, took a walk, cleared my head because I finished Counting Down with You. So we knew this was gonna be a book I loved. We knew this was gonna be a 5-star, but I wasn't prepared for how much I would love this book. I felt so seen. I think I keep saying that every time I film like a reading update, but I did. I felt so incredibly seen. Like, I keep a reading journal and I have 3 whole pages, 3.5 whole pages of just notes from reading this book. Wow. I like don't even know where to start. I guess I'll start with the most lighthearted thing that I have to say, and that is directed directly at Tashie. Girl, level with me. You did such an immaculate job of incorporating all of the Bengali words for like all of the foods, and I just want to know why you insisted upon using chai. We are Bengali. We don't use chai. We don't drink chai. We drink ja. All jokes aside, this book was absolutely incredible, and if you haven't marked it as to read on Goodreads or Storygraph or whatever book tracking, reading tracking device / journal / whatever you use, put it in, pencil it in. The last quarter of the book especially hit really hard for me. This was obviously a really wholesome story, and it was a love story between Karina and Ace. But I think more than that, this was a story about Karina finding her own agency. And that's a struggle that I think a lot of brown girls have. There were some lines in this book that just hit so deep. Karina kind of musing upon what her relationship with Ace will become once her parents come back from Bangladesh, kind of reflecting about how it will be lying and sneaking around and hiding, but that's just the way it's gonna have to be. Completely relatable. Her also struggling to figure out whether or not her happiness was worth her parents' disappointment. I also really appreciated the fact that it was mentioned that so many different people go through this kind of experience, brown girls especially, in their struggle to find their agency. And while it wasn't a unique experience, it's a totally alienating experience because you're still going through it by yourself, and it doesn't matter how big your support system is or how good your support system is. Those things help. Of course, having a support system helps, but that doesn't make going through it any less scary. there's so many layers of this soul-crushing burden to unpack. It's more than just, I don't want to disappoint my parents. It's societal expectations. It's manipulating religion to suit your beliefs. It's manipulating your culture's practices to suit your beliefs. It's about different forms of parenting that aren't necessarily compatible with a child who's growing up in America. Tashie talks a lot about not being able to go to her junior prom, and while she does ultimately end up going, I did really like that her worries about not going to junior prom were talked about within the pages of this book, because I mean, I didn't go to junior prom, I didn't go to my senior prom. Granted, I graduated high school early, so I didn't really have a senior prom to go to because I was already in college, but my point being, I think I only went to like 1 or 2 high school dances, and that's because I snuck myself in. I was not allowed. I did not have permission to go to general social things that make up the majority of a American high school experience. And that in and of itself, even if you have really good friends, is isolating. It's alienating. I also don't want to speculate too much about Tashie's experiences herself, because obviously I don't know her. I don't assume to know her, but it's really clear that Counting Down with You comes from a very personal, vulnerable place. I also really like the fact that while Karina's story arc does ultimately end with her gaining agency, it's to a point, because, you know, ultimately at the end of the day, Karina's 16, she has her whole life ahead of her. So while she did win the battle of being able to select what she wants to do as a career and for her major in college, she doesn't have to, you know, become a doctor like her parents wished for her to anymore, and they're kind of on board with that. At the end of the day, her relationship to a white, non-Muslim boy is something that she didn't come clean about. And I personally thought that that was so realistic. You get, even up to college, there will be brown girls that are in a relationship with non-brown boys, and they hide it from their parents because that's just kind of how it has to be. And I just loved that Ace was so supportive of what her lines were. She told him that that was a line she's not ready to cross yet, and he was just so soft, and he just clearly loves her so much that he would do whatever to make her feel good and make her comfortable and make sure she's having that agency. But while he was great in that aspect, Karina herself was also aware, and that's what I really loved about Karina, because this is kind of how I felt when I was growing up, but you're very aware that what you're doing to other people in relation to their friendship or in a relationship with you, whatever the situation is, you're aware that it's not entirely fair. And then that itself becomes trauma and burden, because you think that you're putting them through so much, they shouldn't have to deal with your problems. And Karina's aware of all that. She kind of touches upon that. And Ace and her friends, first of all, her friends, I don't know whether I mentioned this, I might have, but like Nandini and Cora are literally the ultimate best friends a girl could have. Top tier friendship. I am envious of that friendship. I wish I had that kind of friendship growing up. Karina is also a really, really smart leading lady, because while this relationship started off with a fake dating trope, she still got books, like multiple books a week, to keep up this charade. And I mean, while she had originally started that off as a joke, Ace kind of took her words at a face value and was like, yeah, I'll buy you a bunch of books. And honestly, you need nothing else in a guy. If you like books and he says that if you do something for him and he'll get you a bunch of books, that's a fair exchange, baby. You take that deal. I don't know. I just had a lot of feels reading this book, and Karina's path to agency was one that I really, really wish I had seen or read when I was in high school, because 16-year-old Taz was very sad. She was very depressed, and Of course, like Karina, she turned to books to deal with that and to escape from her real life. I mean, clearly it developed into a whole lifelong obsession with reading and collecting books, but I wish that this was something that I had read when I was younger, and it just lightens my heart so much to know that future Bangladeshi American girls are going to have this book and be able to relate to it, because this is going to be a story they need. I'm going to take the next 10 business days to recover from this book because my heart is like lead in my chest. And I know that sounds really bad, but trust me, it's not. This book was so good. It was so wholesome. It was so cute. And it was just really well needed representation. And I know it's not everyone's representation, but it is still a lot of people's experience. But yeah, that is it for me. I will link all the information to Turn the Pages tour. I'm so excited and so thankful to be a stop on this tour. My post on Counting Down with You is going to go up on April 28th, so follow me on Instagram to check it out. If you've made it this far in this really, really chaotic reading vlog, thank you so much for being here and watch me once again lose my mind over this book. It's only March, so this might be a really bold statement, especially because I've read quite a few really good books this year so far, but Counting Down with You is going to make my top 5 books of the year. I'm calling it. So yeah, thank you so much for joining me and being here. I hope you're having a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, or night, wherever you are. I hope you're just doing amazing, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye!